Hello, my name is Dr. Lou Jensen. I'm the founder of the Inspiration and Encouragement Network, and every week we put together a show that we hope will challenge your thinking a little bit. Almost everyone in the world has a talent, and the whole trick to life is to try and discover what that talent is and then do something with it. I've got my very good friend with me in the show and the theater tonight. I'd like to introduce Chris Gardner again.
Thank you. It's fun to be with you again.
We were together last week for doing the premiere show, and we're going to try and take them as living lessons from one show to the next and label them such, so on the web you'll be able to find the shows and go back to them if they're of interest to you. And we really enjoy putting the process together. We've been doing this as a network now for almost 25 years. And we have some really fascinating lives and some interesting people that we want to share with you. And today we're going to really challenge you with some thoughts and ideas that perhaps you haven't really taken to heart yet. And it might be something that would be inspiring and uplifting to you in your future as well. I've spent a lot of time trying to think about what might be the #1 show, and what out of my life and living might be the most powerful concept I could throw at you. And I finally came up with what I think is the #1 word in the world. And as we start trying to look at this as a process that supports each other, which is what artistic people really thrive on the most, is having a circle of like-minded people and relationships around them to make this work a little bit better. It all started out with my own individual story as I tried to find a way to retire early from dentistry and to go do something more with my life and my living. I was not a very happy camper in the dental industry. But it very quickly went from my story to our story, and the combinations of the relationships are what really startled me and really surprised me. It was such a supportive thing, and all we need now for a perfect combination is your individual story. Everyone who basically takes their life as it is and lives forward without really realizing any other additional potential, to me, starts to struggle. And as you try and find a way to mix your own thinking and your own life with other individuals who are perhaps like-minded, it really becomes challenging in a lot of applications. And so finding those relationships and tying together with those relationships, to me, is what's so really significant and important. And as we start trying to put together this website television process, we're in the process of building the site itself, and you'll be able to access each of these individual shows from now on as a member of the I&E network. And once we get things posted and get things filled up, we have so much information to share with you. It's just really exciting to even think about putting it all together in one place so everyone can go access and basically learn and share information that you all have. Anything that you want, any direction that you want, is now going to be possible with this new television show. So as we've started, we've just begun Chris's classes. We're doing a training program for him. Just getting going. Are you having a good time yet, or are you still scared?
Oh, I'm still scared, but I'm having a good time. It's not so bad to be scared if you're having fun doing it.
Yeah,
and
there's a great reason to get involved with it. Chris is my brother-in-law, has been along watching me play over here for a long time, and it's about time we get you involved, isn't it?
I'm excited. I was just sitting here thinking about all the masters that you have and all the people that you interact with. If you can pull all those people onto the web, the people out there are going to be so excited to meet the people that you interact with, that are people that you've had in your life, and what inspiration and what encouragement. I love the name of your I&E network, because that's exactly what everybody does.
Exactly what it is.
They encourage and inspire everybody to reach a little higher than what you thought you could do.
Yeah. We've got a show today, segment I filmed an interview with Craig Hone, and you're aware of him,
Hmm.
and a lot of you who are now on TV with us for the first time will begin to discover an exceptional, extraordinary individual who's become such an integral part of our circle. And as we go through how things happened for Craig and what he went after and what he's trying to do with his life now, I think there's going to be some really, really exciting things there for you. And hopefully it will be inspiring and encouraging to you as well. The other thing I want to mention is I'm getting ready to start now a weekly radio show that will kind of combine everything and pull everything together so that what we feature as a concept in each individual show, another life and living lesson, will be something that you can also pick up on an iPod or on the radio as well. And a lot of those will be interviews. I do a lot of phone calls with people in our network, and as I share those phone calls, I'm just going to record them and put them up on the radio waves and broadcast them the world over as well. So we're trying to develop a really complete program that will give a worldwide stage eventually to our members. People who have an artistic bent in their life, they're writing books and they're publishing songs and doing music and all kinds of artistic endeavors. The thing they lack the most is exposure, and I would like the I&E Network and Journey Television to be that vehicle one day that will allow you, who's sitting out there in your home tonight looking into the future, saying, how in the world am I going to get my name and reputation out there into the marketplace? This is going to be that way. So as we move through tonight's show, I'm trying to get some ideas for you that will help basically catch you a little bit off guard. I don't know if you saw the premiere show last week where I carved the shared vision ostrich eggshell, but the whole concept of shared vision is what I think this whole thing represents. Individually, you're going to take your life whichever way that you would like to take it, but boy, when you start mixing it with other people who have a vision of the future of the way they would like to go with their own lives, that's really helpful for us as individuals. Helps keep you going, helps keep you on track, helps make that special combination come together and be really a powerful and effective thing. I've spent a lot of time as we were getting ready to start and launch the I&E Network television programs. I spent a lot of time trying to decide what in the world could I talk about that would be perhaps the most important thing I've learned in my 22,000 days, and make that what I shared with you tonight. There's a lot in a life of living in everybody's life, but some things generally have a little more impact than others. So if you're sitting there right at this very moment, I want you to consider the fact that it's rather unlikely that we would cross paths, and that you would be where you are at this moment and I am where I am at this moment, and yet there's something here now that we're going to actually make an attempt to share. And I want you to realize that I'm trying to do this with every ounce of my heart and soul. This has been a 35-year journey for me, and it's been so rewarding. And at the very times in my life when I'm cruising down the freeway of life, just busy and going crazy with every detail that a modern life and living can have, and then all of a sudden what I would need would just intersect my life just exactly at the right time and at the right place. And so that's what I want you to try and consider at this point in your life. I think one of the most singular, significant things to do is to constantly measure yourself, to try and see what you're doing and how you're doing it, and basically compare to where you are, your as-is world, to getting better. How are you doing? How are things coming along? One of the things that really made a difference for me in my life was I bumped into Ben Franklin early on in college, and and read his life story. And one of the things that he made as a lifetime practice was he had 13 different characteristics or traits that he really had liked and admired, and he wanted to pull them or incorporate them into his life. And so he would rotate those from week to week. And I've done the same, and I think it's kind of an interesting concept to basically expand it a little more and pull it into the next 50 weeks. In a year's time of consistently going after some idea or some concept for a week, we'll make some changes. And the little changes are all that it's required to make big results, have big results. So as you start trying to make things work like this, I think you'll begin to realize that what Franklin did is really kind of a unique concept, to just keep coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it until those unusual characteristics start to be a little more effective in your living. It's no different than how we teach or carve, Chris. When you're learning to carve in wood or do things on glass, we've been working on glass a little more right now. That over practice, going over and over and over the same kinds of things, is what begins to reinforce the ability for you to actually do it, isn't it?
I've watched you carve on wood. I watched you carve your eggshell, and you're teaching me to carve on glass, and I was amazed that you used the same burrs. I mean, maybe not in the exact same sequences, but you use basically the same strokes that you use no matter what you're carving in. And it's just repetition is what makes us all better at whatever we do. When you first learn how to do something, the first time or two you do it, it's not going to turn out as good as you want it to be. At least it shouldn't.
But if you come back to it.
But if you come back to it and you keep doing it and you keep, okay, this project may not turn out as good as you want, but the next one I'm going to work and try and make it that much better. And then by the time, if you go through the 7 steps of your master's program, by the time you get to be a master, if you would look back at your very first project and where you are now, I think you'd be totally amazed that you of the accomplishments that have been made.
Well, it certainly has been fun and not dull.
It's a blast. It's fun.
There's a reason that having a good time is my job, is Lou Jensen's motto. Because that's the only way to grow old, the only way to live.
Well, I heard the story one time too. If you find something you love to do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And since you left dentistry 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, I don't think you have worked a day in your life, have you?
Don't tell anybody. I just play for a living. I have another fun concept that I really like to share. I'm so convinced that we are what we swallow. How many things now in your adult life, Chris, that you don't believe anymore, that you might have died for when you were 15 or 18 years old? Has your thinking changed since you were a kid to now?
Oh, definitely. Well, in some ways it should change more than it has, but I probably will never grow up.
I just don't think there's any question we are what we swallow. So
therefore,
the things we chew on, the stuff we pay attention to, and the stuff we are involved with is kind of how we become.
Oh, sure.
And should not these sessions, should not these times together be something that would trigger perhaps a new thought in you? And if that new thought is perceived initially on a decent basis, and then you run with it, the odds are it'll start to affect and change your life, hopefully for the better.
That's where you keep coming up with your threads of interest.
Yeah.
Okay, and they might not be the same thread a month from now as it is right now, but that thread will lead you to the next one and to the next one, and that's what's fun, is to see what's going to happen over the next 50 weeks, to see where we start today and where we end up,
what we accomplish,
where we go 50 weeks from now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better, Chris. I want to start out with the moment in my life that affected me probably as much as anything that ever happened. And I'm going to do my best to share it on a reasonable basis, because it gets me all emotionally tangled up every time I go back through this moment. I'd like you to pretend. I don't know how good you think you are at pretending, but pretend that you're me. Try and move your thinking into the experience that I'm going to share with you right now, okay? And if we can get the whispers, the subtleties of what's going on, and the process of learning, how we go from one thing to the next, and hopefully make some progress in between. I developed the high-speed drill years ago, came up with the idea that all of dentistry had missed for years, and so I'm somewhat an inventor. And I'm planning to push the power pen on into the marketplace for as many years as I have breath left, because I think I invented the coolest tool on the planet. And we've had a lot of success over the years with it. I've done personally 1,000 shows to demonstrate the equipment. We've sold over 25,000 systems and near 200 million in sales. So it's been quite an adventure in and around that individual idea. And I think we've really just scratched the surface. There's just so much future here. Once you begin to discover that you have some ability and you have the right tools to help you do the job, most people can do just amazing, amazing, amazing things. But I learned one word really deeply, and it's the word I want to present to you right now, and I'd like you to chew on it for a whole week. Just see if you can match this moment and realize how you would feel if you were found and caught in the same exact circumstances. Had I not leaned into this dream, really put my shoulder to the wheel, it would never have happened. You know, you can have these little whispers and these individual little thoughts, and then all of a sudden you're just way down the road and you've completely forgotten about it.
How many people tried to talk you out of doing it?
Oh,
people that
yeah.
People that you admire, people that you respect and have admired all your life told you, go back. I mean, why would you want to quit dentistry? It's a good income.
Craziness.
Yeah, why would you want to quit?
That's got to be the only reason. I just can't get past the concept that what lies within us all, yet is still the most valuable part of who we are. And for some reason, it's somewhat buried. We have to go discover it. We have to work hard to develop it, even harder to master it. And then the part of the ID network that I think is really significant is the sharing of it all. And so as we try to go after these unyet discovered possibilities, since I started talking about this one word, have you kind of wondered what that word is yet? Have you think you've got it figured out? Most people really don't look at this word in a way that I'm going to try and tweak your thinking tonight, because from that kind of possibility to this kind of possibility is what I'm talking about. Our expectation of possibilities is quite a difference, isn't it, Chris?
That's cool.
Isn't that fun? And if you could say, well, I wonder if my thinking is back with the old ordinary possibility, or is there extraordinary possibilities hovering in and around me? I just had my hair cut a little while ago, and the guy next to me, the beautician, she says, oh, you two guys need to meet each other. She says, you got the same thing going, both of you. You just don't know each other yet. Well, he was the judge. He just retired from the Fourth Circuit judge in Utah Valley, and he's taken up oil painting, and he's just going crazy with it. He's just sitting there going a mile a minute talking to me. He had no idea who I am, talking to me about the fact that he just wished he'd have found this talent years and years and years ago. He says, I'm clear to retirement, and now the heartbreak of my life is that I didn't discover that I had it earlier.
That's a lot of people have that problem, I think. What you got to do is not worry about yesterday and 20 years ago and that you didn't. Because I've known you for 25 years. Yeah. And I wish I would have got with you 20. Where would I be today if I had gotten with you 25 years ago?
Well, maybe things happen for a
But
reason.
that's what you can't worry about. You just gonna
have to say, okay, today's it.
Today's where I got to start and go forward.
I'm going to pay attention to those whispers. Years ago, I bumped into Robert Schuller, Dr. Robert Schuller, who's the pastor and founder of America's Cathedrals, Crystal Cathedral in Garden Grove, California. And he came up with he wrote a book called Possibility Thinking. And it just lit everybody's fire at the time, and it really was such an amazing book. It just swept the whole country, and I'm into that kind of stuff. I really like new ideas and new concepts that help light fires. But then we had a family tragedy. My daughter Tara was hit by a car out in front of the house, and we had a really nasty 8 weeks while she was in intensive care in Salt Lake, and they were struggling to save her life and get her all the way through all the troubles and struggles. And it was just such an intense, difficult time to try and manage the practice and manage our big family and manage everything, and just to hover around Tara to help her struggle with such a serious, painful, difficult circumstance in her life. And on the television one night, I'm sitting in the middle of the night, and on the TV comes this ad about Positive Attitude Rally at the Salt Palace. And they mentioned that Art Linkletter was coming, and Zig Ziglar, and Dennis Whaley, and all the really great authors. But then they mentioned Robert Schuller. And so when this ad came up, it didn't take me 10 seconds to just say, boy, I got to get to that. That Saturday would help me, lift me, and help me through to manage and help my daughter in these circumstances. It was just something I never dreamed I'd ever have to face. So I bought the tickets and I went to the show, and it was a great day. And they saved Robert Schuller for the last. And if you've ever heard him speak on television, he's on TV a lot, and he's got that beautiful, big, deep, booming voice. And he can deliver a speech like nobody. And as I came in to sit, I'd got my tickets a little bit late, and so I was clear in the back of the Salt Palace. And he started his talk and gave his speech, and somewhere in the middle of his speech that night, I came up with the idea that what they really needed was they had downtime in between all the major speakers. And so in between the major speakers, there was nothing happening. And I thought, if they had a testimony of a local person that would come up and tell their story, just a little 2.5-minute talk, kind of like what you do in church, that'd be a cool thing.
That would be.
And I got kind of excited about the whole idea. So I came home and I made a few phone calls, and I actually ended up with Cantrell, the guy who developed the whole rallies and had been doing them all across the country. And he says, well, write it up. He says, that sounds like an interesting idea. He says, write it up and send me a proposal. So I actually did. I wrote it up on 6 pages of blue paper. I still remember doing that part. I wrote it all out and got it all ready to go. Then I got really busy in my life and just kind of went right on past it. Forgot all about it.
Oh, no.
And so about a year later, all of a sudden, here comes the Positive Rally back to Salt Lake City again. And I was kind of shocked at, has it been a whole year since, because lots happens in our lives. Those years go by pretty fast, and they go faster and faster as you get older, don't they?
They do.
So I bought my tickets early this time. I went into the Salt Palace, and I sat right here in the back, and my ticket was too far back, so I got kind of frustrated and decided that I wanted to go sit clear up front. So I went up just off to the side you can see where the podium and the stage was. And I sat right up in that area in a seat that nobody was in. And I thought, well, if they make me move, then I'll go ahead and move. But I want to be really close this year. I want to get up there. So they started the morning, and the first speaker or two spoke. And then all of a sudden, the announcer came out, and he says, ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise for you today. It's not on the schedule, but we have Salt Lake City's own Doug Snar is going to speak to you for a minute or two. So they turned the lights down, and Doug Snar came out on the stage, and he says, last year I was here at the stadium, and I was listening to Robert Schuller on the end of the day, and I was sitting clear back in those very back rows. And I thought what they need to have is somebody who comes up and tells their own individual story in between all these big shot. By this time, I couldn't even breathe because I had the exact same idea. And the difference between Doug Snar standing up there and telling his story in that circumstance was because he followed through. He worked on the possibilities, and he expected results, and guess what? He got them. And it's bothered me ever since that time that when you get an idea or when a whisper comes to you to do something good for somebody else, or to try and move your life from this circumstance to another circumstance, guess what? It's up to us to do it. We're not likely to accomplish it unless we do the work part. The only quote of my life is the miracle's in the doing now. And everyone wants a miracle in their life. Doug's an amazing story. He's from Idaho, and he had stuttered really bad. And the dream of his life was to date, and eventually he wanted to marry this prettiest girl in town. And he didn't even dare go talk to her. And so finally he heard of a course that he could take, and so he went clear out of town and took this course for several weeks or longer. And they taught him to speak with a metronome. And so if he spoke with a pattern, then he didn't stutter anymore. And he says, you can't see me up on the stage here right now, but he says, I'm tapping my foot underneath the podium, and that helps me steady out my speaking, and then I can speak.
Keeping time with his voice.
Keeping time with his foot.
Okay.
And Doug built one of the largest advertising agencies in the world. His vertical billboards are his. If you ever see a billboard that's upright, that's the Doug Snar magic. And he did marry his girl of his dreams, and his life had gone on. But everyone I know has stories like that.
Yep.
And the trick is to say, well, what's it teaching me? What are the lessons? What have I got that I can pull into this that will help me basically figure out what this pattern is? And I spent a lot of time looking both at my own life and also all of our successful masters in our program. From amateur to master, there are 7 steps, and I finally started to begin to sort out the fact that from a certain beginning of a dream to some degree of success is a lot like climbing up a mountain. I call it Success Mountain. And so I went out last week. It was the first snowfall in Utah Valley, and I wanted to make absolutely sure that I captured it. And so I'd like you to introduce you now to Success Mountain and those 7 really important steps that each of us have got to learn to take to make something successful in our own lives. Hello there, my name is Dr. Luke Jensen, and welcome to my new show. I brought you to my favorite place to introduce to you the I&E Network, Inspiration and Encouragement Network, because this is one spectacular spot. It's called the Valley of 7 Peaks. It's Native American culture, one of their most spiritual, inspirational places, and it has a degree of energy and a feeling like no place else on earth that I've ever been. There are 7 major mountains all the way around this valley, and Utah Lake as far as you can see, and I've lived here for 25 years now. And in the beginnings of this whole effort, what I'm really trying to accomplish now has got a great deal to do with this particular concept. So I kind of wanted to bring you here and introduce you to these 7 major mountains. There's a story among the Native American cultures that mountains are the temples of the earth and very sacred space to go up on them. And last night was the first snowfall of these mountains, and when the Great Spirit begins to prepare for the coming season, He shrouds the mountains in that white cloth, that white covering, that gorgeous, gorgeous snow. And there's not a better fortunate time to be on those mountains than when it is snowing. And that's what happened last night. This is the beginning of the snow season, which is probably the happiest time in Utah. And this mountain is kind of camouflaged over there, and it's a little bit like how the first mountain is the way of the dream. A grand dream is the greatest thing in this world, because if you can get a great dream going in for you and a direction for you to go in your life, then suddenly you've got purpose and you have direction and you have a chance of going where you dream of going. And so that is the first great mountain that everybody really needs to climb. The second great mountain is to make then a map and a plan. Once you kind of know where you're headed, you have the other end in mind with the dream, then you start making a plan of how to take your life from your as-is world to something better. And the climbing of that mountain is also another process, a very distinct process. But isn't it just horrible to go after your life with no plan or no map of where you're going? We're a lot more careful with every other little two-bit detail in our life, and what we ought to be working for, what we really ought to be working for is a map and a plan of where we're going to take our lives. What are we going to do with the rest of our living? Those mountains just a little bit clouded and help you envision where you're headed. The third great mountain that a person needs to climb in this whole life is the gathering and preparing time in your life. I see people who get a crazy idea and they just run home and tell their wives, we're going to go to Hawaii, dear, grab a sandwich, I'll get the rowboat ready. And that's as much planning as they put into it, as much preparing as they put into it. And any really great adventure requires a tremendous amount of gathering and preparing first. And that's also something that needs to be done more by design than accident. The fourth great mountain is the mountain of the launch, the official launch of the rest of your life, the journey that you're going to now take. What a great adventure as you make a line in the sand and say, you know what, it's time to burn the ships and burn the bridges. I'm going that way for the rest of my life now. Everybody who's succeeded in our program, every master in our circle, can tell you exactly when that dedication came and how it came and the date usually. And that's the way they took their life from then on. It's the line that most people don't ever cross. They know that there's a chance of failure, and so they resist that. They make the decision, if you decide not to, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. But it's the major decision in life to make, to have something to dream about, make your map and your plan, do your gathering, your preparing, and then launch that thing. And the magic of our whole program, the magic of the I&E network really is you don't have to climb those mountains alone anymore. We travel in good company. I've got competition from somebody shooting some shotguns. They're having a good time. Can you hear that out there? And the jets landing everywhere. What a great day. One of the really great mountains in my life, and will become so in yours, is the fact that I am a good journal keeper, and I pay attention to where I started from, where I'm headed, and compare that to how I'm doing in progress. Every great adventurer, Columbus and Vancouver and all of them who went after a dream, literally were good at keeping track of how am I doing. And the interesting thing is when you get that figured out and you keep track of that, you keep track of where you're headed and you see that you're making even a little bit of progress, then the fire of true passion shows up. And that is the energy of the gods. That is the problem-solving tool of humanity. Because if you got tremendous passion for a dream you're going after, you cannot be stopped. Nothing on earth can hold you back once you get that fire burning. So that mountain is the great goal. There's a really grand mountain. It's the tallest mountain in this 7-mountain chain, and it's sitting over there, Mount Timpanogos, concealed by all the weather. It's 11,000 feet high. Great, great, great spectacular view. And it represents, and maybe it's done that way for a reason, it represents the creative side of your life to solve problems and come up with new ways to go and new combinations that will unlock the doors and overcome anything in your life. Robert Louis Stevenson said that the overcoming of ourselves was the greatest goal we have in this life. And that mountain over there represents the steepest and most challenging, difficult climb of all. But again, we'll go climb that bugger together, okay? And when you get here one day, I'll show you how just incredibly spectacular Timpanogos really is. And last but certainly not least, look over there. Is that the most spectacular thing you've ever seen? That mountain is also hidden. And it's the mountain of sharing. Once you've mastered something, the exciting part of your whole life will be to take what you've developed and package it and share it with the world. And it's also concealed because those are the wonderful people in your life that you've not yet met or crossed paths with. What an incredible day to be up here and to share an idea with you that really reset the whole course of my own individual life, and maybe it will help you with your future as well. I've been climbing these mountains now for 34 years. And there's not a day goes by that I don't thank my lucky stars that I found another way to go, and that I had the courage to take that path less traveled, because it has made all the difference in my life. You don't know anybody that has more fun with their living than me. And when you can uncover the fact that eternity has literally given you some talent, something for you to develop, discover, develop, master, and share. You don't get any better than that, guys. So welcome to Utah Valley. Welcome to the Valley of 7 Peaks. Let's sit down and make yourself a little map and start dreaming up which way to go for the rest of your life as well. Enjoy having you along for the journey, and maybe this is something you can hook your dreams on too. We've got quite a great circle growing here, and we need you as a part of our circle. Thank you. The secret of my life, I think, has been that I aimed it. I dreamed up where I wanted to take my life, and then I went after it and pulled it into those ranges. But I've gone at it differently. My book's called Drawn, Not Driven. And the idea is that you listen to your heart and your soul to lead your path. Let those constant whispers that come from somewhere light your fire and keep you going. Help you, show you the way. Don't just go after something because it sounds like it'll make a lot of money or that you'll have a great deal of status. You want to listen to your heart and your soul and let that guide you. Here we are in the Valley of the 7 Peaks. A great, great, great place on this earth, and it has an incredible majesty and energy that's just really hard to find anywhere else. Some jealous people in the world call this Happy Valley, because it truly is that, a great place to live and raise a family. And this is what we call, where we call home. Listen really carefully. Can you see the storms coming in here? My home's right over on the hillside over there, and I get to watch those storms come in over this great Utah lake. And there's a flock of geese out there. I can hear them. They're coming through. And one of the really great additional legends of the native culture was 7 geese flying. Whenever you see 7 of anything, 7 rocks in a valley, 7 mountains surrounding a particular place, and 7 geese flying, that's a sign of good fortune. but it's also a sign that maybe I ought to be a little more prepared for being on this mountain about the time I am. That's a serious storm coming. What a great day to be here, and what a great day to invite you to be here. I got some incredibly great things to share with you, so keep in touch and stay tuned. I've been thinking about that particular clip for a long time, and it's something I've always wanted to do, is to take you up on that mountainside and let everybody see each of those individual majestic mountains. Timpanogos is 11,000 feet up there. It's just an amazing, amazing pile of rock. And as I go through and look at each of these individual areas and realize that what we're trying to do is network a personal revolution between people. Something that helps you actually accomplish a dream in your life, something that really fires you up and keeps you going. And when you link up or lock arms with people that are like that, the possibilities and the odds go way up that you're going to actually achieve what you're going to go after. And I'm going to introduce you to all our masters over a period of time. But I had the occasion recently to interview Craig Hone, who's one of our tremendous success stories. Probably one of the most fascinating people that I've ever sat down with, and I want to have you basically listen to what Craig's saying right now and understand, if you're going to climb your own degree of success mountain, the really smart thing for you to do is to make these individual steps, these little moments that you capture here that then lead to this, that then work toward this, and realize that as you start making progress and you start sensing that you're actually getting somewhere and that your life is changing, that's when passion shows up. That's when the energy that you need to succeed will be there. And from then on, it's a joy to take your life in the direction that you've basically planned and prepared for. Well, Craig Hone, I've known you for quite a long time in your life. You're the son of one of my favorite people in the whole world, and we've had a lot of interesting times together. But this period of your life has been really exceptional to me. I've been able to kind of look into your life and observe how things are going. How's this been for you?
Quite a ride.
Quite a ride.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I really kind of embarked on this type of adventure for, it's been, 11 years when I really made a certain decision in my life. And that was a life-changing moment.
What was that decision?
That was, I drew a line in the sand. It was a moment where I said to myself, I'm going to take my personal life and devote it to something. Devote it to, for my own thing, it was learning and expressing the language of art to the best of my ability. At that point, I didn't know it was going to change my life as much as it did, but I can tell you right now, it has.
Yeah.
It really has changed my life.
So was it the focus or was it the subject? I mean, it sounds to me like the subject's it's captured your heart, obviously, but...
To me, I have a sense about this that it's not as important what you do, it's how you do it. So,
okay.
So it's for me, this visual art is my vehicle.
Yeah.
This is what allowed my soul to go through its real transformation. Okay. This is my blooming, my true soul, deep down soul has really bloomed at this point. It's
so from chrysalis to butterfly.
Yeah, this has been for my own life. I have my family life, I have my other endeavors, but for my own true deep self, this is it. This is what's happened. This is what I've used to become myself, my most self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So this is your most centered thing.
Most centered place.
Self-centered thing. And you sit back and go, I think a lot of people are a little anxious about even pursuing that. I hear in our network a lot that they're nervous about taking the time for themselves, that it feels selfish to a degree. And I'm going, if you don't do this, then you can't share even more. You've got to, haven't you grown something in your skills and your effort to
to reach out in your creativity. You're contributing more now than I've ever seen before.
Contributing to others around me, to the world around me, yes. But I think that's almost it happens if you really are at your most centered self. That's a natural thing that happens, I believe.
Yeah.
I think the
It almost spills over.
it spills.
Almost nothing you can.
Well said. It spills over. The scary part, I think, is this society really isn't set up to nurture this kind of devotion to something. You're kind of on the fringe or something, so to speak. But I think it is our truest way of being human when we really allow ourselves to become what we can. Now, it's again, it's not that common. I don't think we're kind of in a way of living, but once you, and I think that's where it's scary, because you don't know
Maybe
what that
that's why
does.
people are a little hesitant to step into this world, because it seems a little imposing.
It is. You don't know what it's going to do to the people around you. You don't know what it's going to do to yourself. When you really see, before this, I was doing art, practicing art, even full time a bit. But there's a difference between doing something a lot that you love and just keep doing it, and making a decision to do something. I mean, I'm going to devote my personal life to this is a different kind of decision. You almost it's a bridge burning kind of moment, and so you don't know what that's going to do.
That level of dedication and commitment that's where the passion, that's where the real energy of living comes from.
For me, it has.
Make that investment.
I began at that moment to see the world through different eyes. I was nervous about it. And so you're eager to be more aware of things. How am I going to make this work in my life? Am I really going to do this? You're setting up a schedule. You're setting up, you're doing things that I'd better do this. If this is my decision, I had better do this schedule. I had better go study with this artist. I had better go to this show. I had better. Your decisions everywhere in your life change.
And then that transformation starts to produce a degree of a love, and an enjoyment, a degree of satisfaction.
And I don't mean the satisfaction's a word that. It's different. It's you become. There's a deeper realness to things, deeper meaningfulness to things. You find a life. You find something that you didn't know was there. For me, that's how it's been.
You use the word enchanted. Quite frequently, and I love it.
Life has become more alive.
Yeah.
My own experience, even daily living. To be, as a visual artist, I've become a deeper observer. To see, I have to express what I'm seeing, and to want to express it to the best of your ability. You've got to really dig at what you're seeing and try and make it work for you. So you may go a ride through the forest country that you grew up going through as a kid, maybe, and now you go there again. And you're a different person. You're a deeper student of life. So you're seeing things that you haven't seen before. One of the greatest joys for me is you see there's more beauty there. There's more, wow, look at the proportion of that, or whatever. Maybe it's a little more analytical at times, but it affects you deeper. You're seeing more beauty in nature. You're seeing more beauty in people around you. You're seeing more beauty in all the arts and how people express writing, or the subtleties of music, or of movies, or all of that. Just every aspect of life just becomes more alive and more enchanting to me.
Yeah. And then there's that explosive moment when all the ideas or all the thoughts come together and produce a whole new level of experience. Something that just I have always called them zingers, and they're just moments that are just catapult you and you're doing to a whole new level. And that's something I have just thrilled watching your experience and your growth and your progress, your ability to communicate and share and express now is just on a whole another plane than when we first met. And when you have that kind of perspective, it happens often, I would expect now for you.
Those moments, yeah, I've learned how to, I think, sense them coming better. I always have a sketchbook around, or even by my bedside at night, so I want to make sure I capture those and get the most out of them. So yeah, there's moments. These moments are deeper. There's low moments as well, and I don't think we appreciate.
Can't get rid of the highs and lows, can you?
It's a true adventure.
Yeah,
it just really is, and I don't think you appreciate the journey, the terrain of life as deep unless you really commit to something like this. I think it's again, it doesn't. I appreciate someone mastering something or trying to master something, whatever it is, or getting obsessed with something, or whatever that is. You're using the same. You're approaching life the same way.
Yeah, it's in every way. The more you get into the process of your living, the more you're going to get out of it. And a lot of people are very hesitant about making that much of an investment. And also, I think a lot of people, especially right-brain people, are a little hesitant about giving up some things. You know, the sacrifice of concentration requires that you put other things aside in order to focus.
There is that choice.
Yeah.
Boy, but it makes it. It does. That's a form of focus.
Yeah, the return
that's a form of.
The return is just magnificent.
Yeah, I think the trade is worth it.
Yeah. Craig, when I first started my career, I was just busy going after it like we all do. It's just something that thrills your own heart, so you keep going. But very quickly, I was startled with the fact that I would bump into people that just, you could tell that they just wanted to do what you were doing so much, but they were often really intimidated or really anxious about that, or even asking about that. Mm-hmm. You've had the kind of interest expressed already, obviously, in your work. How do you handle it? What happens when someone says, God, I'd give anything if I could do what you do?
We teach, we share, we show, we organize seminars and share the how-to. How did we do it?
And you've been doing that for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
So when people, I mean, I see you and your dad and your cousin share your skills in a very aggressive way. Doesn't that worry you or bother you a little bit about competition or having someone else do their own or learn to do their own?
You know, from the outside, I think you would think it might, but my experience is know that growing it even through others, in the end, really kind of even helps yourself. I think you, as the public becomes more aware of this type of work, the demand goes up. I think sharing is a good thing, even business-wise. It's not hurt.
It doesn't seem to hurt, does it?
No.
So how is it when you get through the transition of a person who's expressing, I'd really like to do what you know how to do, but they got to put in their own effort, their own work effort to develop their own skills, and there's that early period where you're trying to help them be confident enough to know that you could learn to do something really incredible yourself. It's not just a gifted few. It is a learned, is it not? A learned process?
It is something that is really for almost everyone out there. It is much more doable for them than I believe they realize. And I say that because of our experience now. We have been teaching for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So when people come through the door to our studio to sit down with us in a seminar, we're more confident than they are in their abilities. And we've seen this over and over and over, so we know that there's a way, a step-by-step way of learning it and bringing up your skills and techniques and your awareness, and it is a step-by-step learning way that is doable.
And process.
It is.
Remember the guy that came down from Idaho and took the wolf carving class, and we did the sculpting of the whole wolf. And then on the last day I came over and we were visiting about it, and he got really emotional because he said, Lou, I've sat on this John Deere tractor for all these years and had no idea that I had this kind of ability. And we get to do that a lot to people now. And you in particular have become one of our most demanding teachers. People just like studying with you for a lot of reasons. But when you have the chance, so you can get the sense, you said we see more in them than sometimes they see themselves. What do you say to somebody who's just in this early exploratory stage? Is there words of encouragement and support that help them to know that they could do it?
I think, well, one way or another, we want them to jump off. If they have an interest, some inkling, some passion about it, they should be doing it, I believe. That's part of what they are, and for them to reach their own fuller potential, they should be trying this out, checking this out, pursuing it, testing this out. So we want to push them off into that because we do know that they can do it. It is so fun to watch people astonish themselves.
Usually in just a matter of days, too. I mean, we're not talking years. We're talking a very concentrated, focused 2, 3, 4 days.
Now, there's a little bit of faith involved. They have to trust us a bit, and we know that. We know that it's just, it doesn't happen the first few minutes, but it does happen fairly fast. They can see result in the first day, 2 days, 3 days, depending on the class. And by the end, that's really fun for all of us, because they have created something that they did not think that they were capable of doing. And that's what's better than that.
There's much better than that, I think.
Over the years, we've had occasion to help a lot of people get started going after their own abilities and talents. We have. And we've developed a lot of neat concepts or things that help right at those beginning stages. What if someone by now, and I can't imagine they wouldn't be super interested in what we're doing, but what would you encourage the average person to start doing if they have a degree of interest, that thread of interest? How do you grow it into more?
You know, the first thing I would have them do is become inspired, truly inspired. Now, they may think they're inspired now, but dig at this a bit. See some great art. Go in nature. Go around whatever it is that intrigues you, and really become inspired with that. You want to do something with that. You want to interact with that. You want to create with that.
Okay.
Now that's before any mechanical, any technical, anything like that. You've got to have a heart. And you've got to always give time to visit the museums or nature, whatever it is that jazzes you up about it.
It sounds and feels like if you're going to learn to swim, then let's get wet. I mean, obviously, get involved, and particularly perhaps to track or keep or begin to collect the stuff that you prefer the most. Doesn't that help you
a lot
start to be more interested?
Oh, for example, in nature, you're gathering up leaves and branches, whatever it is that you're bringing that home. Maybe that's it. Or you're tearing out things in magazines, and you're just keeping it. There's something that strikes you about an image or a piece of art, or you're visiting a museum, 2 or 3 pieces of art, or one piece of art, maybe one painting that just wow. You don't even maybe know what it is that excites you about it.
Why you're even interested, but you are.
But I think, that is important to first, you are inspired. Are you inspired? You know, that's what you do. And from that point on, there's some things that I would suggest that they would do.
Basics, right? Smack at the beginning. Where does the creation of art and your own ability to create come from? Where?
This is something that needs to be gardened. You need to have a space and a time for this. So create, it doesn't have to be a big space, create an area to play.
It's your
whether it's your inspirations, when you develop this, you need your space and you need some time.
There's something magnificent about coming back to the same spot, isn't there?
if you don't have a space, if the person doesn't have a space, you have no idea of the sensual joy of your own space. When you create a studio, that is as good a time in your life as any.
And you just call that space your studio. It doesn't matter if it's a spot under the stairs. It doesn't matter if it's a little chunk of space down in the basement or in the attic or wherever.
Yeah.
It's your dedicated space for, I'm going to go do this self-discovery thing. I'm going to see if I really have this kind of an ability or not. And one of the books that I've enjoyed reading was about a lot of highly creative people, and the only thread that was common between all these people was people like Charles Schultz and that caliber, Dr. Seuss. They all had a nest. Every one of them had a creative nest to play and to participate with, and I know you do, and your dad does, and Al does, and all our success stories have their own studio space that's dedicated to this exploration.
And this space for them will become sacred to them. Maybe not to others. And we have this studio here, our studio. This is my father and my kind of shared studio. Our family, this is sacred space to us. And I know that when people come in, they sense that. People of our like-mindedness that come in to our seminars, we teach here in our studio. This is a sacred space to them.
But you made it that way. You've
in the beginning, and then they've added their spirit and soul to it. It's just a sweet, sweet joy, but it is a necessary thing. And we mentioned about time. That's a difficult one, and that really begins to show who's serious and who isn't, because people have demands on your time, whether we think so or not. And when you carve out space of time and defend it, the world has to adjust, and it takes
on a regular basis.
This is a regular. When I mean
everybody
time,
will allow you to do whatever you want on any given occasion, but if you start cutting out an hour or two
a day,
every
this is
day,
a daily time. If
you're going to make a commitment and dedication in that direction, if people start to object to that,
if you're going to do something with this interest that we're talking about, visual arts, anything, it's that daily time that you have to carve out. Early on, it's tough. If you pursued this. If someone pursued this and mastered something and began to share it, you give back so much by doing this. So to have this space and time is the beginning. It's the beginning. And from there, I would say, begin to develop. And we're talking visual art here, so you're going to be developing that. And a couple of ways to do it, best ways really, is in drawing or drawing in clay, or both, playing with clay.
So these are like graphic art tools.
So this is a technical way of the techniques of going about beginning to create something visual, something real, tangible.
So if they've never done it before, even, this is a good place to start. Or even if they've had a degree of training, start over. Sit down and begin at the basics. Because if the fundamentals aren't in place, then there's going to be flaws and struggles and strains.
All great art is still, all the basics are right there.
With drawing and sculpting and...
So in drawing, you're developing your eye. So you would you'd have a sketchbook, and you would you begin by maybe a little still life, setting up simple shapes, a block of this, a sphere of this, and you're beginning to see, and as you render this by hand with a pencil or chalk or whatever it is you want to use, it doesn't matter, you're beginning to somehow understand this. You're seeing the shape,
there's dimensions to things, isn't there? There's 1 and 2 and then 3 kind of dimensions to things, and they start out with the simplest, flat, unidimensional.
Right. These simple shapes, it isn't boring at all. You can find simple shapes very exciting, really, when you start playing with seeing the light on it, how you can shade the lights and darks, which are the values. But you begin to discover there. You begin to train your eye. You'll begin to see more correct proportions, more the proper lights and darks.
I can see a whole,
and you're composing. You're starting to put things
a whole
together.
program here we got to develop to help them go in that direction. But as they start to do that and define that, then one thing, just like your dad always says, one thing leads to another, one step at a time, and then all of a sudden you're interested in more.
Absolutely, yeah.
At a higher level.
Keep going.
Do you suggest they try and get some modeling clay and start sculpting quite soon?
There's different kinds of clays, modeling clay.
Shaping.
Shaping, I would do that. And some people do more of that and less drawing.
Yeah.
Clay, working three-dimensionally in clay is a form of drawing.
Yeah,
anyway,
it is.
So you can do it on a flat board and do relief, do kind of a scene in relief that eventually would lead to dimensional sculpting and carving or whatever down the road. But you're creating things. Maybe you're out in, I don't know what it is, you know, you might like, but maybe you're out in nature. Maybe you're gathering leaves and things, or maybe you're doing animals and learning. You'd be learning anatomy of whatever it is, how something is built, whether it's a leaf or a horse or a human.
So much here to learn. It's hard to know where to get people started, and just because invariably people jump in too complex and too heavy, and
they expect too much out of. They expect a result.
They take on. They take on a Da Vinci level thing too soon, and it discourages them, and we don't want to have that happen.
As difficult as this is, because we all want this stuff to turn out right from the beginning. We want what we're creating to, wow, feel good. That's great. Really try hard to let go of the results a bit, but put your time in. Say, I did my 2-hour quota of it today. That's what is most important.
Yeah.
The results will come.
The practice level of it is repetitive just by nature.
Yeah. We still get frustrated with the results a lot. And art is about that. It's making mistakes and just refining so we make less mistakes. It's like making music.
Yeah.
You're not going to make beautiful music right off the bat. So let go a bit, put your time in, have fun with it, enjoy it, work with others. That's
whatever you can gather and bring into your life now. I think it's really interesting if they dedicate a space. And I always encourage people to doll it up a little bit, give it some personality, bring some things gradually into it that start to mean a lot to you, that are significant in your life, a great photograph or a neat lamp or whatever. And then you mentioned getting a drawing book. I mean, I don't ever buy a drawing book that I don't feel special about it. It's just like it's a new beginning.
It's your inspiration.
It is a place to capture those precious ideas, those zingers. And when you're doing that, all of a sudden now you're opening up some incredible new doors. Some clay to play with.
Absolutely. Clay, and there's tools, and you'll use your fingers at the beginning. So you're just taking baby steps.
Some really simple 1, 2, 3 baby steps.
That's all it is, and that's what all great art's built on.
What a great place to begin.
Absolutely, it is. It's fun.
Oh, thank you, Craig. When this young man first started, he's the son of our first master in our program, and Craig was so shy and timid. He didn't like speaking. He didn't like mixing with people and conversations. He did his own thing and was very to himself. And when I see the transition and how far he's come now, I think he's almost better with people than he is with his art. His ability to basically rise above everything that he's had to overcome in his own life is building him into who he is now. And looking ahead 50 weeks more in a life with a tremendous amount of energy and passion is pretty hard to compete with. It really depends on what your plans are and what your gathering process is, and that you eventually launch something that will work for you, and then you measure and solve problems and share it. It's almost unbelievable what you can accomplish in a given period of time. And I think if we can help you basically look at the mastery of something, get something under your belt that you then eventually have something to share. There's 7 steps in the program, and if you'll email me, I'll be glad to get that package in that program to you so that you know a little more about what you're aiming at. The other really important step is to start that studio. When Craig and I were talking about that fact, once you've got a place in your life that's just yours, that you can basically begin to dream and to go after your own individual skills, it's a little hard to imagine how much power and strength that can have in your life eventually. So that's the very next step. I crossed paths with Claire Murray's magazine quite a while ago, and this was the premiere issue. And once you know Claire's story, she hooked rugs. She just has this crazy thing for hooking rugs, and she couldn't put it down. And so she just took her hobby and turned it into her passionate, profitable hobby. And now she's got her own magazine in support of everything that she's accomplishing as well. And a page in this premiere issue said, "Invent your world. Surround yourself with people, colors, sounds, and work that nourish you." Does that sound a little bit like what Craig and I were talking about?
Sounds exactly like what you.
Isn't it interesting that it's the same kind of concepts? Yep. Nobody's inventing anything here. And I think it's so amazing that she would talk about her subject of her magazine is the art of living, which is, we all say, well, I'm living and I'm going, but are you getting as much out of it as you could be? Another page in that issue is, "I do not understand how anyone can live without one small space of enchantment to turn to." Once again, it's the exact same thing that we're preaching, the exact same idea that if you can take a beginning place and start to master it and make it your own, you're on your way. And the idea of doing it together, climbing Success Mountain together, to me, is the entire goal of the I&E Network. Look forward to getting with you again next time. Good luck with your planning and your future, and we'll connect with you next week.